Welcome to my art book tour. Now, while I was unpacking after the move and setting up this office, I came across a bunch of my art books and posted it on my Instagram stories asking if anyone wanted to see a little tour. The answer was obviously yes, so here is the video. Now, we all know I am a gal of many hobbies. I have many passions, many interests, and art has always been one of them. I love art. It has been a hot minute since I have regularly created any sort of like art on paper or like painting and things like that. So I do think I need to start incorporating a day each week to set aside some time and just get creative with it. Don't be a perfectionist with it and just have fun with art again because I definitely miss it. But anywho, let's dive into my art books from over the years. I'll start as chronological as I can, like starting from the oldest ones that I have here. But bear with me because not a lot of them are dated and I don't really remember when I did a lot of these. I have definitely experimented a lot over the years with different styles. Anime has always been one of my favorite styles to draw, so you will probably see majority of my artwork is very anime heavy. Now, just a little side note, a lot of these are reference images or like reference art. So I found a anime picture or someone else's artwork that I saw like on Pinterest or online, and I have basically used it as a reference just for fun creative purposes. I never intend to sell any of these things that were based off of reference art. It was just purely for fun and to help expand my skill sets. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so most of my artworks are from my mid to late teen years and early 20s to now. So I'm starting with this one because it's like the tiniest little book that I have, and it's not full either. It only has a couple of pages in it. So I will show you these. We will change camera angles so that you can look solely at the books, and I will give you a little talk through as we go. Okay, so again, this one is from my mid to late teens. I was still in high school when I started doing entries into this book. Definitely going through a time, but I was also experimenting with like charcoal pencils and sort of creating different like textures and things and just having fun with it in general, to be fair. I've always been a big Winnie the Pooh fan, so as soon as I saw that, I just had to incorporate that into my little book. This is also around the same time that I started to get into stippling, so you will see a lot more of that as my work progresses. Now, this book is where I started to get heavily into sort of more anime style artwork, and a lot of the time I would kind of customize a reference piece to draw up a character that I was writing about because I did a lot of writing in my teenage years and created a lot of half-written stories, half-baked recipes, really. But I loved drawing up the characters that were in those stories. And then I was also watching Naruto at the time to get me through my high school years, and it definitely played a big part for me in my love for anime. This is another example where I customized an original design a little bit to create my own fan art of my own characters, because I was also writing my own I guess fan fiction to a point of like my own superhero universe, and I created all my own characters and wrote up a bunch of background stories to them. I actually should dig them out at some point and do a video about it. Sakura, and then another one of my superheroes. And then we're diving more into my superheroes. I was also watching Fate Stay Night at the time, and I absolutely love Saber. And then these were, again, just all images that I would find off of Pinterest and then just replicate them to the best of my abilities. I really loved blending with pencils at this time. This was one of my most favorite things to do, is either use really harsh charcoal colors to create that big contrast, or to blend all the different shades of pencils. I had that sort of collection between all the really light to really dark pencils, and I loved incorporating as many of them as I could. And then I'd found like a Lilo and Stitch anime-ified version, so I absolutely had to do that. And then I started using like those markers that you can like blend and color and shade on top of each other at that time. So I was like playing around with those as well. And then that's where this part comes into the book. And then the artwork at this end of this book is from when I was doing my art subject in high school, and I had to play around with some different mediums. So I was using like, it's like a type of ink, and I can't remember what it's called right now, but yeah, it's very like highly like pigmented and stuff, and it's really fun to use. So I did that for a few projects, and then working on different like perspectives and line work and stuff, like using photos, and then more of the ink. And this is one of my favorites. She's just so cute. This is one of the best like realism artworks that I have ever done. I think I was watching like a YouTube tutorial on how to do this, so I was like drawing it at the same time as watching the video. And I'm just so over the moon with how this eye turned out. Definitely hyper fixated on like faces for a hot minute, and I was trying to draw like realism style faces, and I won't be showing that book, one because I don't actually know where that is right now, and also because it's not some of my best work, let's put it that way. Now at the time of drawing this, I didn't actually know what anime this came from, but it has always been one of my most favorite pieces. Now this is a few examples of another like book that I was working on back in the day. And I did a bunch of character designs for all of the characters within this book, like the main girls. So it was very, very simplistic because I just needed like character art to, you know, visualize as I was writing. I had a lot of fun at this age, like doing art for friends and stuff. And then this was all my like Snapchat friends at the time. So I drew like a big, big friend group picture. And then I did use like tracing paper so that I could trace it out and do a different style of it as well. But I also really I've always loved like medieval vibe things, so I was experimenting again with like those markers and trying to create sort of some sort of like messy style artwork here. But this is where we dive into a lot more of my like charcoal work. I went through a mad phase of doing these like contrasted like charcoal artworks, and they're honestly still some of my all-time favorites. I also really like this one too because I think it's really fun with like the pops of color. This is again another one of my characters from my superhero like stories, and this is a character from another really old story that I wrote. I was training jiu-jitsu at the time, so that's why that's why this is in there. And then I was experimenting with just a bunch of fun, cute little guys. And then I was watching Clone Wars as well around, you know, this time, and Ahsoka. I love her. I love her so much. So when I saw this, I was like, yes, I need to draw that and I need to color it. And she's definitely one of my faves. But then back to the charcoal designs again, and then more of like the blending. Was drawing things for people's birthdays. And here is one of my first major like stippling ones. This one was a reference art, so it wasn't my own design, but I absolutely love this image. It's just so beautiful. Again, I modified another artwork, and this is a character from a series that I would like to revamp and actually release at some point. A girl Sakura again. Our favorite boys. If I can remember in editing, I will tag like where this actually came from, because this is from like a really cool artist that has like a whole I don't think they're like comic strips, but they're kind of like similar to that, where I guess they're comic strips. I don't know. I'll fill in the details, but I was obsessed with this artist's like stories that they were creating and stuff, and especially this one because it was used as a cover for a lot of like fantasy music on YouTube. So that's why I wanted to like sort of just draw it myself as well, because I was obsessed. Princess Mononoke is always going to be one of my favorite Ghibli films, and I just love this art piece so much. I was also playing around with a different kind of like coloring pencil with this Sailor Moon picture. Now, these are reference arts from books that I got from one of our like homestay Japanese girls that lived with us back when I was much younger. She gave me these textbooks that had the Disney princesses on them, but they were like anime, exactly like this. And I loved it. So I wanted to draw them myself. And this was one of the books as well that had all four of them on the cover. I really loved doing such like detailed anime works during this time, and I honestly struggle going into like this much detailing now. Like, I don't know, I just don't have like the bandwidth for it anymore, but I'm glad that I did it at this time because I absolutely love looking back at all of these and seeing how much time and effort I put into like all the art. As you can see, Naruto was definitely one of my favorite animes and always will be. Again, more like little happy birthday messages that I was drawing up for people for their birthdays. And then again, I found a anime version of Tarzan and Jane, so I just had to draw it myself as well. And that was me drawing like my friend group at the time as all like warriors and stuff. And this was a piece that I sort of mashed together from a bunch of different things online and did that for Adrian. Moving on to the next book, this is again all around the same time period, but this is absolutely one of my favorite charcoal and pencil drawings. Conan is also one of my favorite Naruto characters, so I had to find an artwork of her that I could replicate into the sort of charcoal and pencil artwork. And then more anime. As you can see, realism for the most part is not quite my strong suit, but I do love doing more like this style of artwork. I drew up this design as well as this one for profile art for him, and I'm honestly so proud at how these two turned out because this looks so cool, and then incorporating like the suit and everything, it was so much fun. I feel like if it's not already obvious, I really love emotionally deep artworks and sad girl stuff. So I think that is going to be very prominent throughout a lot of my artwork. I just love the emotion. And again, this is also a character that I customized off of an original art style piece and custom created one of my own characters from a book as well. This is a reference art, but honestly, I love this style so much and I would love to understand how to like create this like originally because amazing. And then I started to play with watercolors as well, and we're going to go down that rabbit hole in a moment, but she really dove into watercolors for a hot minute. Okay, we're entering into the book that is predominantly watercolor and stippling. There is this little honorable mention of our family dog, Freya. I used one of the photographs we had of her and replicated this, and she's so cute, a little staffy baby. But aside from this one, the rest of this book is original artworks where I have used like multiple like photographic references and things like that, and then created my own art style because this is like animals and flora and things like that. So aside from this one, which I was doing for someone else, this is based off of like a reference art. I don't remember if the butterflies are actually red. I think they might be blue. But anyways, moving on. I never actually finished this. I get very hypercritical of myself, and the perfectionist that I am kind of destroys things for me sometimes, but I was creating artworks for like clothing and things like that with honestly, I actually really love how cute this looks, but I'm sad that I didn't actually finish this. Now I'm going to stop yapping for a minute while I show you through the rest of these, so enjoy. So just like those previous ones with the stippling and watercolor were made for the purpose of like creating art prints and things, and I did try and have a little art business going at that time, but I didn't really know much about marketing, so it didn't ever make it very far. But this is along the same line. These are original pieces done in a style that was like half of the zodiacs were done by me and half were done by someone else, and we were doing like a joint business at the time to sell zodiac art. And so these are the ones that I did, and I absolutely love these designs. I just think they're so beautiful. And then I started working on some designs for like phone covers and notebooks and things. And I do want to dig these back out because I actually love this so much. And I also started working on like these sort of designs as well, where I created kind of my own base and wanted to go through and like do each of the zodiacs and be able to like create artwork and have these artworks on products. There was a lot of little details that I put into these. So I did the constellation within each one, the specific flower, and then details like the symbol and then the main art piece here. I was working on a second one, but I think that is in the next book. Okay, here's the other one that I was working on. I didn't quite finish it with some of the little extra details, but you can see the vision, you know, and I think they're really pretty, but maybe I should do a poll or something and see who would be interested in these if I continue doing them. Now, the rest of these sketches are very recent. They're from like the last 2, maybe 3 years tops. I think this was a combination of my own work and some reference arts, but I absolutely adore these two. And this was just me playing around with designs that I would like tattooed on me at some point, I think. And I was just playing around, seeing how I felt about them. And then just some fun little sketches of Studio Ghibli characters. And this is from my Ash and Ruin, my debut fantasy novel. I did a bunch of my own artworks for like character reference arts and things. So this is sort of how I started with my main character in my own style as best I could. This is one of like the side characters that I absolutely adore from the books. And this is a better depiction of the main character, and I absolutely love this little sketch. And then this was an attempt to follow on with that one for Zilla, who again is the other character that you just saw before. And then I was playing around with a rough, like sketchy style just for like the vibes of her outfit and everything. And then I played around sketching up this just recently to sort of warm myself back up to art again and realized how much I missed it. So I definitely need to get back into it and hone my skills again. And this was a fun little scribble pen art that I did of Emily from Corpse Bride. And then here we have my final sketchbook that is also around the same time as a lot of those last pieces of paper. So very more so recent works from like the last 2 to 3 years. So we have our little Totoro friend. I absolutely adore Totoro. And then this was more of my own sort of original take on Coraline, involving like stippling and like lots of little like streaky lines and stuff. I didn't quite get to finish all the detailing on her, but I was working on some more like animeified versions of like the characters from Ash and Ruin. So this is a Rin in sort of more anime style, and I actually really loved where this was going. I just never got around to finishing it. And then going back to the charcoals for a cheeky Gojo drawing. I then drew my own little chibi design for when I started up Weeb Designs, and then you can sort of see I did a lot of like sketching up of concepts that I wanted to do for not that one for like some Weeb Designs artwork. So I was playing around with like the Coraline doll aesthetic, but doing it like in, you know, popular characters that everyone loves. And then I also started like doing anime cutesy versions of like Strawberry Shortcake and Bubbles, and I was gonna make like stickers out of them. But yeah. This was when I was designing how I was gonna make my Malice cosplay. And this is my most recent that I am currently working on after the last season of Stranger Things. I was just in the mood to like draw something like Stranger Things-esque. So I'm not sure that I will keep going with this one. I may just like start a new one because I kind of want to do it in like charcoal, I think, instead. But yeah, drawing like a little Demogorgon face, and I was like, hell yeah. So I may pause this one and work on a charcoal one instead, or I may keep going with this. I haven't decided yet. Well, that brings us to the end of my little art book tour. I do have, I think, a few other art books somewhere, but I think they might be in like my storage containers. So I've kept my best and favorite artworks out, and now you've seen them too. I will definitely endeavor to be more artistically involved this year and try and actually do more drawings and more painting and things. I really love fabric painting, like anime designs on clothing, which is why I was doing that heavily for like weeb designs before I closed it down. But I have a few denim pieces of my own that I'm thinking of adding to or painting on, and putting some of my favorite girlies on there, and I think that'll be really fun. So I will keep you guys in the loop when I do all of those little things. I don't know, I think there's just something about being like active in like other forms of creativity that can just cross over really well for like writing and even creating content. I feel like it opens you up to, you know, explore new things and just be more creatively expressive, I guess. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this little art book tour, and I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for being here.